Welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about Kristin Tattar hitting 1,000 rated, the first woman ever to do it. A historic day today, Tuesday, May 14th. Unbelievable. Welcome inside. I'm Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me, Josh Mansfield. Josh, look, we knew this was probably going to happen, but it was not a guarantee. We saw Paige get close and not get there. We saw Kristin's numbers. It was like so close. You couldn't say for sure whether she was going to get to 1,000 or stay at 999. And obviously, it's just 1 point. But the symbolism of today is going to be a lasting legacy for Kristin. And it may be some time before we see another female player hit this number. It will happen. 10 years from now, we'll probably have multiple 1,000 rated players. But in the short term, this is Kristin's mantle, and it will be a piece of her case to be the greatest player of all time, and certainly a clear symbol in the data of her excellence in this era.
You know, and I think that you highlight real quick Paige Pierce, but and I think you can have lots of discussions about these two players, and there will always be comparisons between them. But this, like you said, this belongs to Kristin. And it is one that you can't, Paige over this many years won this many majors, but the field size strength was this level versus Kristin's level. And there's all these, qualifiers around career strength and statistics, but this one is just so clean cut, so unique, and so uniquely Kristin's that it's definitely one that I think is going to be remembered.
1KT. If they put that on the disc, I'm calling the lawyers. I'm just kidding. Just to be clear, I'm kidding. But look, what an amazing accomplishment. It's easy to take for granted that she's been great, and that you see what happens when she doesn't show up at the majors, and you're like, what's going on with Kristin? She finished fifth. This is what's happening. What's wrong with her? And fail to recognize that her level of play has been so much higher than we've ever seen anybody play at this level for an extended period of time. That this really cements that. In a way, obviously the career Grand Slam, winning the calendar slam last year, those are things that are truly going to be remembered. But this is a moment that we should all just step back and recognize that regardless of what Kristin does moving forward, this was an incredible, really 2-year stretch of disc golf that is captured by the fact that she's averaged a number that most FPO players would be thrilled to shoot once at a tournament.
Absolutely. And what's even more remarkable, I just pulled up PDGA player statistics just to kind of look. Evelina went up quite a few points actually, but Owen Scoggins, the next closest player who was at 989, went down 2 points. Missy Gannon went down a couple points. The players around her are starting to bump up against kind of what feels like their number, right, where they're actually at. They had been climbing a while, but now there's the slight regression. This is their level. Kristin Tattar's is at 1,000, and it is on average. I mean, what they say, 10 points per stroke ish. I mean, Kristin is 13 points ahead of Owen Scoggins, and I know at that level it starts to break down a little bit, and it's a little bit different. But I think that just highlights the consistency of which she plays above all of her competition. And that's what this number reflects.
Look, there's some tournaments this weekend. Copenhagen Open and Las Vegas Challenge, kind of a big A tier. We're not really going to focus on that too much today. We're very excited to have the opportunity to talk to Kristin today And so that interview is coming up right now. We will discuss a bit about the tournaments after that. But first, let's hear from Kristin and her journey to get to this 1,000 rating and what this season's been like for her so far. It's all next right here on The Upshot. The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. They've got brand new double convertible Rufus colorways in charcoal and purple. So the double convertible takes the long pockets on the sides that can be zipped down and tucked away to transform into hall pockets if you want to kind of have bulkier stuff that sticks out, water bottle, things like that. Both sides feature pleated zippered pockets with Velcro patches, and when converted, reveal elastic detail pockets for cell phones or other quick access items. They also include an insulated insert to turn either converted hall pocket into a proper beverage Sherpa. That's what I'm talking about. So head over to pounddiscgolf.com, grab yourself a double convertible Rufus right now, and check out the charcoal and purple. It's beautiful. The Upshot is presented by Sunset Lake CBD, a farm that originally started as a dairy farm producing milk and cream for Ben & Jerry's ice cream, but they've since diversified and started growing hemp for CBD. You got to check their products out. This is the highest quality CBD, super nice packaging, obviously really nice quality products themselves. I've been using the muscle rub when I have sore muscles. Feels fantastic, smells great. Really, really nice to be able to use that instead of, taking Tylenol or something like that. And you can save on Sunset Lake CBD products right now. You just got to go to sunsetlakecbd.com, use coupon code UPSHOT, and you will save 20% off your entire order. Joining us now on The Upshot is the two-time world champion and world number one, Kristin Tattar. Kristin, welcome back to the program.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us. When I set this interview up a few weeks ago, I kind of had looked at the calendar and I was like, maybe this will be the day that Kristin gets to a 1,000 rating. And indeed, it happened. Congratulations. What a milestone in your career. How are you feeling on this day that is going to be remembered by many?
I feel very, very good. It's just been super nice being back home, and I've had 2 really wonderful weeks with my friends and with my family. And to achieve this kind of thing and just being in a good place in my life in general, it just feels like a cherry on top of everything. So I'm so happy, but at the same time, I feel like I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know. It's hard to to understand what happened. So I feel like it's still sinking in. But it's definitely a huge day, and not only for me, it's a huge day for women's disc golf and disc golf in general, I feel like.
Where does this career accomplishment rank among all of your many prestigious career accomplishments?
It's so hard to list them because each accomplishment holds a very dear memory. And I think just bringing all those achievements together is what makes it so great or so wonderful. Yeah, I wouldn't want to list it anywhere, but it's definitely up there somewhere because it's so huge. It's huge for, like I said, for disc golf in general, for women in disc golf, and for our small country of Estonia. It's so huge.
We've seen this 1,000 rating kind of talked about really for the last maybe 10 years as a possibility for an FPO player to get to this point. And Paige came very close and basically had an opportunity kind of with the COVID stuff, if she played well in Texas a couple years ago, to get there, and it didn't happen. When When did it become clear to you that you had an opportunity to do this and maybe to actually chase this number down? Not something that you're probably thinking about day in and day out as you're trying to win tournaments, but when did it come into view for you as something that you could achieve?
Actually, this year, I think I've mentioned it before that ratings didn't really hold too much importance to me, because coming from Estonia, we weren't looking at ratings because they were so low. And whenever we went outside of Estonia, we typically got higher ratings, not because we were like outperforming. It was just like something was going on with the ratings that we got lower ratings here. So I just did not pay any attention to them. And 2 years ago, I remember having a very clear goal of winning my first world title. And I think already back then, people were starting to talk about me potentially being the first woman who's going to achieve this. But again, I wasn't thinking about it. I still had other goals in my mind. Last year, I wanted to do the Grand Slam, which I pulled off. And I still wasn't thinking about getting to 1,000. I was just telling myself if it happens, it happens. But coming into this season, I had mixed emotions. I didn't really have any like clear goals. So at one point while I was in the US, I thought maybe this would be pretty cool to get to 1,000. But again, it was so hard because you cannot really do anything about it. You just have to be focused on like executing and playing well. And I haven't been like cherry picking tournaments. I've just like played all the tournaments that fit into my schedule. Haven't really done anything special to get to 1,000, except just playing disc golf and doing what I love. And it happened. I mean, it's just crazy. And what makes me really proud is that it's an average of 69 rounds. So it's not like I played like a couple of tournaments and played well and then waited for a while. So it's just like honest and hard work, and it's long anticipated by many. And yeah, I'm just super happy. And it like I said, like it popped into my head this year when I thought this would be a huge milestone and it would hold so much importance for women's disc golf and for in my career as well, and in general.
So you talked about a couple of years ago, your goal is to win a world championship. You've done that. You've done the calendar Grand Slam. You've won the European Disc Golf Championships, an event that you've talked about previously being very important to you. You've hit 1,000 rated. What's your next for your career goals? I mean, you've done it all now. So what do you see as kind of your goals moving forward?
I like to think that the top of one mountain is the bottom of the next. So I don't think that there is a ceiling. I think that new goals will come to us, and I try not to like force them or like look for them. I believe that once I have a clear vision, it will come to me. And I think through my experience, I've learned that it will happen once my desire is pure and I'm doing it for the joy of the experience. It's not that I'm like looking for acknowledgement or whatever. It's just like I said, joy of like experiencing it and just going after what my heart desires and dedicating myself to something that I love. And yeah, I think there will always be the next goal. right now it's too soon to ask, but next year there's World Championships in Europe for the first time, and there's a major in Estonia happening. So there are some big things coming up. So definitely exciting times in disc golf.
So Missy Gannon was on the show recently and said that she felt like you kind of delivered a wake-up call to the rest of the FPO division last year, that they had to get better if they wanted to compete. Obviously, you swept the majors, completely dominated the season. This year, for the first, I don't remember now, 6 or 7 tournaments, we didn't see anybody win without shooting at least 1,000 rated event. Does it feel to you like the division has improved and is putting more pressure on you week in and week out?
I feel like the women in disc golf have definitely improved. Like you said, you can see it from the ratings. And yeah, I did have a feeling that the competition is a lot more tight. And I don't want to say that I feel more pressure. I think it's just a lot of fun. And I think it makes me want to try harder and train more. And it's just more exciting, also for the viewers. And I still remember how good it felt winning my first Disc Golf Pro Tour event, and then seeing other women win their first Disc Golf Pro Tour events, or just like having a long time between the wins and then achieving it. Then it's just fun thing to witness and makes me hungry to win more and go after more wins and give out like great battles. So yeah, I don't want to say it's a pressure, but it's a good thing for the sport, definitely.
Tell us about so we have the European Disc Golf Festival that's going to be after the European Open. Looks like it's going to be a massive event and will be in the future the host of the European Open next year, as mentioned. What's that tournament like? From our perspective, it really does look like an incredible event, but I think you would be able to better speak to kind of the venue and what that tournament is going to be like and what we can look forward to as it comes up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the venue is quite unique for the disc golf scene because it's in the middle of our capital city. So it's right between all like the city life and everything. And it's very accessible for like even like so-called random people to maybe join in and come see what disc golf is about. And just knowing Estonians, they're so hardworking and passionate. And if they have an idea, they will make it work. And they are definitely dreaming very big and making it happen. So if anybody has a chance to come over here, make sure you buy the ticket and make the trip. It will be worth it for sure, or tune in to Disc Golf Network. The venue for Estonians is also important because that's where the singing festival takes place, and it's an important event for all Estonians because we like to say that we sang ourselves free from the Soviet Union, and it holds a great importance in Estonian history. So it has many purposes, and now to play disc golf there, like it's this like grand stage. It's huge as an athlete, but as a spectator, I think it's also a lot of fun because it's so open. You can see all the shots and get very close to the players. So it's definitely going to be exciting for sure.
Let's talk a little bit about your season so far. You came over to the U.S. and literally didn't take a weekend off. You played every single weekend, including an A tier along the way. Obviously, you did some winning, but also coming up short at the majors. I'm just curious for kind of like your assessment of how you did to start the year and just maybe how you were feeling on this very kind of intense stretch of disc golf to begin 2024.
Coming into the season, it was kind of weird because I had just been down with the flu, and I really had to talk myself into being able to compete because I didn't feel like it. So I did massive work on my mental side to be prepared to compete. And I also had some visa trouble, so I wasn't sure if I was able to come over until last second. Like, I think like a day or two before I got my visa and I got the green light, so I was able to travel over there. But me and my manager, we were already like writing up the statement that I'm not coming and I don't know when I'll be able to come. And
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was very intense. So I was super stressed out. Like I said, I was just sick and then the visa trouble. And it was due to some technical side. So it wasn't like me being, I don't know who. Everything was fine. But it was just a technical issue that didn't allow me to book an interview in the embassy. That's like the final thing to do before I get the visa. But my manager, he was like pulling some strings, and thankfully Estonia is such a small country. Everybody knows everybody. So somehow I snuck through the back door, so to speak.
Just really quick, what kind of visa do you have? Is it like a sports visa to play in the U.S.?
Yeah, it's an athlete visa. Mm-hmm. So thankfully, it all worked out, and I was able to come and play Waco, and I won my first event, and I just felt great. But it also felt like a huge relief, and I got a lot of pressure off my back, and then it was very hard to focus for some reason for me. Like I said, I didn't feel like I was in a good shape. I didn't feel 100%. And I know some people will say like, oh, she's making up excuses, but it's just like facts and how I felt. And I think it's normal because our lives are not linear. And yeah, I would say that overall, the 2 months I spent in the US, it felt good because I mean, my results, I think, were very good. I won 4 events and obviously played well enough to become that 1,000 rated. But emotionally, it was super hard, especially with all like the chump putting thing and what was going on online. I was like, after my rounds, I was typically just crying, driving back to the Airbnb. And I tried to like press it down and not show that I was really hurting inside and wait until I come back here. But it definitely affected me in a way. I tried to not think about it, but I could definitely feel like the hate from some people. And it was just weird because I haven't really seen many like mean comments about me over the years. So it was definitely a huge shock, and it affected me throughout the 2 months.
Do you still feel like that's affecting you? Or what changed that allowed you to kind of change that headspace in a way that it doesn't?
Well, I'm a massive believer that we create our own reality. So I was just trying to like look inside and see what's going on inside of me and what I could do to change the picture that I'm seeing. So I wasn't trying to go online and like go into discussions with the people who were saying stuff. Instead, I was looking inward. But I felt stuck a long time because I feel like the emotions were just taking over me. And I was like in this loop and I couldn't get out. But once I came home, I felt like, okay, now I'm like away from the disc golf side of things and I can just relax and think through everything. And in conclusion, I feel like I realized that this is an opportunity for me to just become a better player, take notes, and see where I can improve. And there will always be people who think that bringing others down will lift them up, but I don't think this is the way things work. So my job is not to pay attention to these kind of things and just focus on myself and what I can do with me and how I can improve and just be a better version of myself. And that's all.
For anybody who's out of the loop, people were posting that you've been illegally jump putting, that you've been kind of leaving the ground before releasing the putt. From your own self-assessment, whether that's just of your own game or like looking at the tape, do you feel like that's true? I mean, you're certainly not the only player who is kind of a bang release point with a jump putt. Are you trying to make a change at all to how you jump putt, or do you feel like people are like totally overblowing something that's not a big deal? How do you look at that part of it?
So when I started playing disc golf, there was nobody around who was actually able to teach how to play disc golf. So everything I learned was by visual observation. And jump putting was something very common. Like everybody still does it. Like a majority of people, if they're not putting for jump putts, they're doing this for approaches, right? And I never thought of it this way, like never. I didn't think about it this way, that it could be a fault. And now when it came to light, I wasn't paying too much attention to it at first. I was just confused for a second because, I mean, again, like I said, I see everybody doing this, so I didn't really go into the technical side of things. And when this continued, like week after week, and I just see people putting me under fire, I didn't see this happening under like other jump putt like posts or highlights. It was me. So I knew that in a way, it's just some people being mean. And since I was like highlighted in a way, then it just blew up and so on. But after this continued for weeks, I thought, okay, maybe I should look into this. And I see that some people have taken the time to like go over the videos and like take screenshots, and which is interesting. But yeah, I mean, from the photos, yeah, there were photos of me online where I'm still holding on to the disc and my feet are in the air. I think this is very hard to like see with the naked eye, but after thinking about it, I stopped doing the jump putt for the last two tournaments, so for Music City and Champions Cup. And I just made very sure that I will release the disc before like following through, or if it was possible, I didn't really like follow through at all. I was just doing the staggered putt or just approaching. And it was pretty hard because, I mean, I've been practicing one way of like approaching and putting for years. So it was a challenge for sure. But in my mind, I I made up the decision that I'm gonna change it, and not to like do people pleasing or anything, but I just wanted to make sure that everything is correct. And like I said, I see this as an opportunity for me to be a better player, and that's it.
Okay, my last question on this point. Do you think the rules should change to expand where the circle is? Perhaps you have to keep your behind your lie all the way out to circle 2. This has been something that's been discussed a bunch as a possible rule change for the Pro Tour. So instead of having circle 1 be the kind of like range where you have to have a stable, behind your lie for your putt, it would be all the way out to circle 2. Would you support a change like that?
I mean, you could do jump putt from circle 3
That
or
is true.
circle 4. So it's not going to change the jump putting thing. I mean, all in all, I'm not talking about this to create the change in other players or in the game. I'm just focused on myself. Like I said, I think jump putt has been part of the game for so many years, and there are so many players who are using this, and I'm not gonna go after anyone or go after the rules. I don't think this is my place. At least right now, I don't feel like it. I'm just gonna be focused on me, making sure I follow the rules and understand the rules correctly, and the rest is not up to me. And the smart people who make up the rules, they can decide and make changes if they want to.
Switching subjects now, you are in year 3 of your 4-year contract that was announced at the end of 2021, the 4-year $500,000 deal. I guess I should probably ask, are you still on that deal? Have you changed contracts or renegotiated in any way? Or are you still on that, what was previously announced?
I'm still on that deal. Yep.
Okay. So combining that contract with your other disc golf earnings, meaning like tournament winnings as well as like disc sales, you also have a lot of non-endemic disc golf sponsors. We've seen the Porsche sponsorship. We've seen the gambling sponsorship. Couple other, so you have outside opportunities that aren't necessarily endemic to disc golf. Where does the percentage lie in kind of your earnings for your salary? And there's like a percentage breakdown of what comes from the disc golf side versus the non-disc golf side.
Oh, there's no question. The non-disc golf side is very small compared to the disc golf side of things. Yeah.
Do you feel like I guess, are you already starting discussions with Latitude about, beyond this current contract in terms of like what that might look like, given how much growth you've had as a player? I mean, when your contract was initially announced, it was like, wow, this is like a huge deal for women's disc golf, and it feels like you've massively outgrown that. But I'm sure with disc royalties, you're already earning way more than the stated baseline amount. So like, what will the next contract look like, do you think?
We have definitely discussed opportunities for us to continue the collaboration with Latitude. But I'm not going to go into more details. We'll see if we can reach an agreement at some point, and you will definitely hear the news then.
Fair enough.
I have one other follow-up that I
Sure.
want to ask on that real quick, Charlie, if I may. During the time of your contract, House of Discs has purchased Latitude 64, consolidated other brands underneath this, kind of one company. Have you noticed, or how has it affected you moving to this now House of Discs brand, and have you noticed any changes that have come with that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, with their growth, I feel like it's not as intimate as it was like in 2017. But we have definitely established a connection, and I have a very good understanding of their goals, and they have a very clear understanding of my goals. And I see it like the bigger picture is that it's very good for disc golf, and the change and the growth is inevitable. So this is definitely something that I accept. And times are different compared to like me talking to David, just like one-on-one, like the head of the company. So now it's definitely different. There are different systems in place, but I still feel very much part of the family. And I've loved being with them, and I think our collaboration has worked out very well, and I feel very supported by them, and I think they're pretty happy with what I am doing as well.
I think so. So your schedule, you're back over in Estonia. You're not scheduled to play again for a couple of weeks. You're coming back over to the U.S. for Portland Open and Beaver State Fling, and then you're off for another month before the Krokel Open. Folks have spotted that you were initially signed up for Turku and the Swedish Open, but you have dropped those from your PDGA calendar anyway. What's your decision making around what tournaments to come here and play, to mostly skip the early DGPT events over in Europe, and to kind of take these longer breaks in your calendar?
So this year actually marks a lot of great things, and me and Silver are planning on getting married during
Congratulations.
the summer. Yes, we got engaged last fall, which was huge, and we decided to do it this year, and we have been falling behind. At least it feels like we've been falling behind in planning, but that's why I feel like I need some more time off, and I don't know. I feel like I've achieved so much that maybe it's a good thing to take some longer breaks and not be everywhere. I don't feel like it's necessary. I don't feel like I have to prove myself anymore. And well, at least I'm telling myself that it's totally fine to take some time off and like I said, not be everywhere. And I will be back in the US for a longer trip in the fall. So that means I will be spending a lot of time away from my daughter again. So it will be a nice way to like figure out the wedding stuff and then spend some time with Isabel, my daughter, and play in Europe in July, and then it's already fall basically.
Crazy how fast that comes up on us, right?
Oh.
I'm sure with the 1,000 rated that you will be getting a commemorative disc. Have you started designing it? Is it going to stay with the wolf theme? Do you know what disc it's going to be? I mean, this has got to be fun to make.
Yes. Yeah. It's been in the making for some time, actually. We have thought about it. And I mean, I've been pretty thorough with designs and like rebranding and everything. Thanks to Matthias, my manager, who came on the board in November, and he's been a real gem. Like he's helped me out so much, and he stayed on top of everything while I was like falling apart in the US. Like I was playing disc golf and I tried to do my best, but like everything else was a mess for me. So he was just very helpful and organizing stuff, and he's been helping out with the designs and everything. So yeah, there is a disc coming out. So I mean, stay tuned. I'm not going to tell anything more, but it's going to be something different, and I think it's a very very appropriate disc for this achievement.
Okay. That's the first disc that flies 1,000 feet with no effort. That's,
Yay! You figured it out
you're
already.
going to sell a lot. So obviously, you know, people have talked about nicknames for a long time. You have this new milestone. So there's been some discussion around, you know, maybe you get a new nickname. There's been a couple thrown around that we've seen that we wanted to run past you and see what you thought. Now, to be fair, you don't really get to choose your own nickname, but we'll at least let you weigh in. So one of them is 1KT, with the 1K obviously representing 1,000. What do you think? This is straight from the Ulti-World Disc Golf Discord and the Upshot crew.
Yeah, it sounds very fun. It's very, very catchy, and yeah, it has a ring to it for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting.
we saw another one on Reddit from super fan, and I believe Estonian or Finn, I'm not sure, Disc Golf Fanatic, who I think you may know, because I think he comes to the airport and like welcomes you back to Estonia. He suggested, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but I'll try, Toni Tattar, with Toni meaning essentially slang for 1,000 in Estonian. Yeah. What do you think about that one?
I mean, like you said, people can call me whatever they want. And I have not a lot of say in this. But it definitely, I know that Americans are huge about nicknames. At least it seems that way. You like to have nicknames for everyone and everything. So, but I think I haven't really had a good one. So maybe this gives some ideas for people to come up with something big.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Do you have another one that you've thought of that you're like, this would be nice?
No, I don't think about my nicknames.
No.
Yeah, you're not allowed to come up with your own anyways.
I have a lot of nicknames for my cat and like my daughter. No, not for myself.
What's your cats and dogs' names?
No, I'm not gonna reveal this. It's too funny.
All right. Well, we'll have to speculate on that. All right. So, you know, you last year come out and you dominate the majors. I mean, like total domination. And you know, I arguably those were kind of like two of your worst performances by just where you finished on the leaderboard to start here in 2024. Do you feel like there was something different about those tournaments this year, or was it just sort of a factor of the courses in your mind, since we've kind of gotten used to you dominating since you'd won 5 in a row coming into this year?
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. I think there's no excuses. I think I've played well on different kind of courses, like on wooded courses, on open courses, on courses that have a lot of OB. So I've had success almost everywhere. But for some reason, I did not perform well during the majors, and they happened to be wooded courses. I have to say I did not really enjoy Sprinkle Valley. I don't know. It wasn't just, maybe I just disliked some of the holes and I kind of let it bother me, or something was going on. I wasn't in the right headspace, I feel like. And for some reason during that week, a lot of like weird stuff happened to me. I was like sleeping very poorly. Then I stepped into the ant's nest and my like leg was like huge and swollen. So I just had a bad week, and it's okay. I wasn't really sad or anything. It just wasn't my week. But I was very happy for Missy, who has been playing so well for years and pulling off that first major is huge. And also like same for Northwood. I don't know. Something like I tried to go into that tournament really determined, but again, there were some things were bothering me, which is unusual because sometimes or normally I don't let myself bother by anything, even if I like dislike some of the holes or something is going on in my personal life. I forget about it and go play disc golf. But I wasn't able to do that in Northwood. But again, I was so happy for Evelina. She's just like shining during this season. Like something is going on with her, and now taking down the win in Copenhagen in such fashion. It's crazy. So yeah, a lot of like exciting things were happening, and I wasn't involved in them, so to speak, but I was just happy to like witness it. And I'm not too worried about not winning or not getting a podium finish. I don't think it determines my future or the future of my career. It's all good. I know I can play well. It just wasn't my week. That's all.
You talk about Sprinkle Valley, and I don't know if we've asked you this question before or not. U.S. Women's oftentimes gets played on courses that have not previously been featured on tour, and are sometimes even brand new tracks that have just not been played at any sort of a professional level, really. There's been discussion about either adding the Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championship as a 5th FPO major, or replacing U.S. Women's and just making it happen at the Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championship with the USDGC. Mm-hmm. Would you be in favor of either of those options, or a different proposal altogether?
Well, yeah, I don't see the reason why to favor women to have fifth major. I don't know. I would probably see it more fit to just have it during the same week as men have USDGC. That's my opinion. And of course, it would be pleasant to go back to the same course and just attack it every year rather than playing a new course, I guess, for a major. For US women's, I think it like in that format as it is now, maybe it would be fun to have like an 8-tier or something like that, where all the divisions can come together and we can play on a new course. But as a major, I would definitely prefer something stable, like the men have. I think Throw Pink right now would be perfect.
Does it feel like a major, Throw Pink?
I haven't really thought about it that way because I know it's an 8-tier. So it's like, I mean, I have very mixed feelings. Like, I did not understand, like it was fun to qualify for US DGC when we were still able to do that. I think in 2019 was the last time when I actually had the opportunity to take part of it, because I had won US Women's that year. And but then Throw Pink came into the mix, and it was confusing. Why are we playing 8-tier there? We could have a major there. So I'm just glad we have the discussion, and it would be great to hear other women's opinions. My opinion is that it would be like a easy solution, I guess, to have a major for both divisions at the same time and something stable for the women. But it's also fun to have the US Women's in that kind of format, just maybe a lower tier where all the divisions can meet the pro players and everything. So yeah, again, something to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking ahead, World Championships in Virginia, a couple of months away. Feels like it gets here quicker every year. How, I don't know if you're really familiar with the courses there at all, but are you looking forward to that event, being in Virginia and kind of a new place and new courses to the tour?
Yes, I am excited to go there. I have heard a lot of great things from Hannah about Virginia. Obviously, she is from there, so she knows the place well. And it's always exciting to go and play the World, and I'm looking forward to it for sure. There's so many exciting things happening during the summer for me, and hopefully Worlds can be like a cherry on top of everything. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it, and trying to practice hard to be in good shape for the major.
All right. Well, good luck with the wedding planning. And we're looking forward to seeing you back on tour in a couple of weeks, and really appreciate you giving us some time here on the podcast.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming. Congratulations once again. First woman to 1,000 rated. Kristin Tattar with us here on the Upshot. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Upshot. Thanks again to Kristin for taking time out of her schedule and really time off of tour to talk with us. Josh, always a pleasure to speak with Kristin. She's so open and honest about all things disc golf, and I kind of respect that she keeps elements of her personal life very much like closer to her chest. And I think that is just fine. She's very open in many ways, and having a sense of ownership of like your own personal life, I think is still really important, especially when you get to the kind of level that she's at and like is legitimately a celebrity in Estonia.
And I think that's so often, especially as disc golfers are young, up and coming, part of sponsorships are all about, they're influencers in a way, right? Like they're trying to promote brands. And so you see lots of disc golfers who share everything about their personal life, who, really document those details on social media, because that's their way of capturing an audience in order to make them a more marketable player. And Kristin relies on her disc golf and is just a level of professionalism that I think comes by virtue of, one, how good of a player she is, but two, just kind of her brand. And it's something that absolutely, I think, makes her unique, but also is, I think, unique in a good way.
There's so many things we can discuss from this interview. I think I want to start with how affected she was by the jump putting criticism. Now, I don't exactly know, what she's seeing. Maybe it's in her Instagram comments. Obviously, there were some Reddit threads about this. People maybe on Facebook talking about whether or not it's an illegal jump putt. And, I think if you go frame by frame, there are spots where she's clearly left the ground before she throws her putt. Now, as she basically alluded to herself, she's not the only player who is jump putting with a kind of like borderline illegal jump putt. Her fellow competitors are not calling her on this, but it affected her to the point that she stopped jump putting and like was severely emotionally affected by the fact that people were just piling online. I think it's a kind of should be a wake up call to just like fans, to recognize that like what you say is actually being seen, and that, maybe you shouldn't like accuse people of like blatant cheating when they're jump putting in the same way that they've been doing for 10 or 15 years and like never getting called as doing it illegally.
Kristin is a better person than I am, because my thought would have been, well, then call me on it. Like make my competitors call me on it. But until then, I'm not stopping, right? Like, it works. It's working for me. You're not showing all the instances where the disc does leave the hand on time. And so until they change it or start enforcing that rule and say that it is against the rules, then I'm going to keep doing it. It almost, and that probably just shows like my level of maturity, which probably is not to that same level of Kristin's. But you know what I really thought of when she said that? I was like, could you imagine when they started cracking down on unnatural shooting motions in the NBA? Like 6 months prior to it, James Harden comes out and is like, you know what, guys, I saw a lot of language, like a lot of posts on social media just really hating on my unnatural shooting motion, and I'm going to fix that.
Yeah, seriously. It's kind of crazy. Also, I was intrigued by her answer about the Latitude contract and kind of the future of the Latitude contract. To me, Kristin is clearly going to be, as she should, looking at offers from other companies as she enters this next contract. I think she's in a great spot with Latitude. I think it's a good fit for her brand. Who owns the IP for all of the stamps and that kind of thing is a question mark. I think Latitude would be wise to match or exceed any offers that come in from outside. But I definitely didn't think she was like, oh yeah, everything's incredible and we're definitely re-signing with Latitude. Like, she's like, we'll see if we come to terms and you'll hear about it.
Also talked about just like a very different feeling from the House of Discs acquisition.
Yeah.
And honestly, like that, I guarantee that wherever you go, the contracts are going to be a little more professionalized, right? We know, especially from like the Gannon Burr situation, everyone's going to have lawyers involved now, but there still probably is a level of intimacy at other companies that does not exist now at House of Discs. It's just welcome to a world where you have a mega investor that's purchased your company. It's going to be different. And so I am curious how important that is to her and whether or not she's able to find that somewhere else. I'm also intrigued. She was talking about how her manager had kind of been working, and it sounds like there's almost like a rebrand that's coming in a sense with this new disc, that the design sounds like it might be a little bit different than some of her previous ones.
She did suggest that it's going to be something new, as she said.
And I wonder if like Paul Macbeth, when he made the switch to Discraft, it felt like a rebrand opportunity, right? Like the own line of discs, but also, he does his own merch now and just has a little bit different of a brand that I think evolved when he made that switch. And I just am curious if she is making this rebrand opportunity as part of the search for the best deal possible. And she's going to bring that new brand with her, one that is somewhat independent of the brand that has been cultivated, in a way, almost inseparably with Latitude in the past.
Well, one thing that Kristin doesn't have at Latitude is her own lineup, right? I mean, she doesn't have a disc that is her disc. Now, maybe you think of the Grace as a Kristin disc, but it's not a Kristin disc. It's a Grace with Kristin stamp. Now, I don't think that's necessarily negatively affecting her because the prominence of Latitude 64 is kind of driven a lot by Kristin, I think. And people are picking up certain discs because Kristin has made them popular. So I think, that sort of plays out in the same way. But at the same time, we've seen what players can do when they have like an actual disc that is theirs. And then you can negotiate on how much royalties you're getting on those discs. So that's an opportunity, but to me that's easily solved at any of these manufacturers. I mean, like Latitude could easily roll out a KT lineup tomorrow with her own putter, fairway, and driver. Like, it would be simple to do that. But look, she should absolutely see what the market will bear for one of the most popular players in the world who is dominating their division. Like, this is a Macbethian type moment to sign a monster contract that carries you for 5 to 10 years.
Yep. Yeah, it absolutely is. This one would be this is another one of those that would feel like a really, really big shakeup.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
So her contract's up at the end of next year, right?
I think so, because the announcement, I went and pulled the article that had her contract announcement, and that happened. It was signed and released on October of 2021.
Yeah. I mean, just look at the active contracts tracker on Ultra World Disc Golf.
That's right.
Come on. What are you doing? 2025. Look, it's just a tremendous all-around accomplishments for Kristin. I think she still feels like a very clear favorite to me to win the Worlds and the European Open and continue, with another Player of the Year. So, obviously, you got to show up, you got to execute. Getting married, that's a lot of headspace that will take up. I'll tell you that.
A lot of headspace.
Yeah. Getting married in the summer as a pro disc golfer is a wild move. But you can't really get married in the winter in Estonia, right? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
You could go with a Frozen theme. Like,
all right. A little bit of disc golf happened this weekend. We had the first DGPT Elite Series in Europe for the year. Copenhagen Open, as part of this new codified European tour. It was quite the tournament. Jesse Nieminen wins it in MPO. He just shoots amazing for 3 rounds, holds off Nicholas Antila and others. And over in FPO, Evelina Salonen, who trailed by 9 strokes, 5 holes into the final round, chases down and is able to beat in a playoff Kaidi Alsalu with a couple of monster Circle 2 putts, first to force a playoff, then to win the thing. It was an amazing comeback from Evelina. And we talked all about the Copenhagen Open in our Rapid Reacts for Ulti-World Disc Golf subscribers. And so that's what we're going to do. We're basically going to, that's our recap. So if you want to hear more about it, we've already had a long show today. So that's going to be kind of the discussion. If you want to hear more about the Copenhagen Open, please get yourself a subscription. You can listen to it in your podcast feeds, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And it's a lot of fun joining in the Rapid Reacts live in the Discord.
There's one thing I want to say, Charlie.
Yes.
If you had told me that the coming back from 9 strokes with 13 holes left to play was not the most unlikely thing that happened at that FPO tournament, I think I just don't know if I would have believed you. But then if you told me Evelina forces a playoff and wins the playoff with clutch Circle 2 putts, that I'd have to see it to believe it. So if you have not watched it,
it's a must watch.
It is worth a watch.
It's a must watch.
It's incredible. At least the playoff. Just go pull it up and watch
the end of regulation and the playoff, if nothing else.
Yeah. Yep. That's it. That's all you got to do.
I mean, Evelina opening up with the triple bogey on the first hole in the final round. You're like, it's a wrap. A lot of people probably turned it off. Wow. Amazing.
Player of the Year frontrunner right now, Evelina Salonen.
I guess so. She's
got a major and as many wins as Kristin.
I think if you put odds on it, Kristin would still be the favorite.
Probably.
But I think you are right to say that if the season ended today, Evelina would be the winner.
Yes. She is not odds on favorite, but she is the front runner.
She is out in front from an actual win-loss perspective.
Yep.
Great season going. Pursewatch at Copenhagen Open. 45,535 to MPO, 15,284 to FPO for a total purse of 60,819. That's not big by U.S. standards, but that is very large by European standards. It's one of the highest payouts we've ever seen at a non-major in Europe. And so that works out to $434 a person. That's definitely below what we've seen in the U.S. It's the lowest number of the season per capita, but it's still very solid. As we heard last week, $25,000 will be the added cash minimum at DGPT Elite stops over in Europe. 81.81 to Jesse Nieminen, 38.21 to Evelina Salonen, with the purse jumping 130% from 2023.
Yeah, at only 26,000, the added cash minimum almost exceeds what last year's purse was. We're in a new era of European disc golf.
No doubt. And hey, how about the crowds, Josh? It was
man, awesome.
It's awesome. Like,
I mean,
it gets me excited to watch these tournaments.
That's what happens when you put a disc golf tournament in a greater metropolitan area of nearly 2 million people. There
you go.
Like, you're gonna have people who come and watch disc golf.
Doesn't hurt that it's free.
It doesn't hurt.
We've got the OTB Open coming up this weekend. Over at the Las Vegas Challenge, Connor Rock goes berserk in the final round and is able to come back and beat Gannon Burr, who had a 7-shot lead after 2 rounds. And so Connor Rock, it's not a tour stop, but definitely the biggest win of his career. And a guy who's like, we've heard his name. He pops off from time to time on tour. Tremendous final round to take it down. Luca Lorenzen gets the job done over in FPO. And all around, LVC, I think, is going to stick around as a pretty prominent A tier for a long time to come.
I saw a couple of posts that just kind of made me laugh about this tournament. Number one, Casey White talked about how this was like his 7th LVC in a row, and it's the best weather that he's ever remembered at this tournament. And I'm like, well, that's what happens when you have it in May instead of February.
Yeah, it's straight. Like, people think of Las Vegas like, oh, it's a desert. Yeah, well, the desert gets cold in the winter.
It does get cold in the winter. So
the pools are closed in Las Vegas in the winter.
Not surprising. He got nice weather. And then the other thing, Gannon Burr made a post, about him, taking second place after that crazy comeback from Connor Rock. And he mentioned in his post that he felt like he had more spit outs than usual. And I might have to go watch this coverage because I want to see like how many spit outs are more than usual for him based on his standards. Because this is a problem that he's got to fix.
Exactly.
He has to fix this.
You can't just complain about the baskets every week.
No.
You can't.
This is the third different basket they've played on.
It is what it is. You putting too hard.
Yeah.
You got to figure out how to dial it back a little bit when you're putting from 20 feet. He's
got to fix it.
I mean,
he's losing tournaments because he putts too hard.
I agree. I mean, I think it's costing him too many strokes. And like, I feel like it's to the point where you can't just keep saying, well, this is just a kind of a fact of how I putt. Like, I feel like just work to make the adjustment, even if it's a height adjustment, whatever it is, you have to figure it out. I mean, if it's costing you 2-3 strokes a round, you can't just rely on having your favorite baskets week in and week out. Like, part of the game is adjusting to the course and in this case, the equipment.
How many tournaments would he have won this season if you gave him 2 strokes a round?
I'm sure we could actually calculate that. Like a Gannon Burr with no spit outs, index, he probably he makes a lot more money and theoretically wins another tournament or 2.
It is not like some players like a spit out, like the spit outs happen. It's a part of the game. Every player is going to experience at least a couple of them, probably, most events. But Gannon is happening so often that it is like, it's truly he has to start calculating how big of a detriment this is to his putting percentage and how many strokes he's losing to the field because of it.
Yep. All right. I think that's going to do it for today's show. We've got OTB Open coming up this weekend. We'll get you ready for that on Thursday. Yep. I do not want to leave the show without mentioning tremendous news. New York City is getting its first disc golf course. This is amazing. Highland Park out in Queens is getting a course with the help of the Paul Macbeth Foundation to put it in. It's going to be a 10-holer. This news came out last week, and I'm shocked. I mean, it goes to show you that I'm sort of living in Upper Manhattan. I have friends in Brooklyn who knew about this course going in because,
really?
It's been the talk of New York City disc golf scene, though small it is. But I had not heard anything. And it's a little bit on me. I got connected with a guy here who has been working on trying to get a course put in New York City. I had been making some efforts myself a couple years ago to try to get one in Van Cortlandt Park, which is up by me. But there was a lot of resistance from the Parks Department. So I'm definitely looking forward to hearing the story about how this all happened. We're working to get an interview with either somebody here in New York or from the Paul Macbeth Foundation to just find out a little bit more. Josh, you texted me when you heard this news and you said, Charlie, like, you know, how far is this course from you? You're going to be able to just get out and start playing a lot more. And I was like, Josh, it's 90 minutes by train and a 45-minute drive. It's probably easier for me to get to FDR State Park, which is about 40 minutes north of where I live, than it would be to get there just because of where it is in the city. New York's a big place.
It is a big place.
But
yeah,
let it be said, I will absolutely get out and play the next like free weekend day I get the chance. And I'm so excited that New York City is getting a course because it's just, there's so many people who live in Brooklyn and Queens that are going to have access to this course. And, you know, this is the start of what could be some actual real grassroots growth here in the country's largest city.
Very exciting.
It's very exciting. All right. That's going to do it for today's Upshot. Let us know any of your thoughts on today's interview or the episode or just whatever's on your mind. Upshot@ultiworld.com. And congratulations once again to Kristin Tattar for getting to that 1,000 rated mark. What an achievement. For Josh Mansfield, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you Thursday right here on The Upshot.